Hello everyone, this is General Hand Grenade. Welcome to my war room in Prince George, British Columbia. As you can see here, Global War 1936 to 1945 version 3 is out on the website. Yay! But it's only a pre-order. They expect it to ship on February 1st. But the reason I'm making this video today is to show you about the stuff that's available, okay? So first of all, the pre-order that's on right now, you can pre-order this thing, the game is only on until the end of December. What is it today? I think it's December 7th, a day that would live in infamy, Pearl Harbor Day, right? But anyway, you've got until the end of the month to do this, so 24 more days, 25 if you include today. So the things you need to choose, there's 3 map sizes now, not 2. The map that you see me play on, that's the 4x8. If I could afford the 5x10 that they have here now, I would. But there is just no room in the war room, and the only room in my house that would fit it is my living room, and I'm not going to give up my living room. I still like to have company and things like that, right? That's the first choice that you make. But the other thing, like, you don't have to choose anything else. There's some free stuff that comes with it. Let's just take a look at some of that, okay? So the free items, you get the poster. So this is the poster here, right? Except that it'll be a little bit different. Doug and Will's face, and Delijah and Morton's face, 2 of the designers. Those 4 guys are going to be their faces drawn in there instead. So that'll be kind of cool. I'll be in a future one. I think 14 or something. My face will be in there. But anyway, that's the only thing that's going to change with that. So you get the poster for free if you order this month. You get the rules booklet, which is awesome because I tell you, it can cost you a lot of money if you don't have access to a printer with colored ink, because their rule books come in color, and they're really nice if you get the ones in color. Like, you can print it off in black and white, but it's just not the same thing. It's a beautiful booklet if you get it in color, and 20 bucks, I tell you, that's way cheaper than I can get it for up here if I'm getting it printed off. And free 3D printed pieces, you get 3 of them. Doug's not exactly sure which piece. If you have an idea of which piece you would like him to print off, something useful for the V3 game, then just let him know in the comment section of this video, because he's looking for suggestions. I talked to him just a few minutes ago. He's working on the 1985 game with Misha and who else is down there? Chris, I guess. Yeah, the 3 of them. So I talked to all 3 of them actually, and they're working on that game. But anyway, if you have an idea what piece you'd like to get for free, then just let them know. So you get the map, you get all the stuff from the other one, like you get the tech charts and the IPP charts and all of that stuff, right? All the stuff you'd expect to get. Now, Battleboard markers. You're probably wondering, well, what the hell do I need Battleboard markers for? You know, I'm going to show you today. That's what the main part of this video is about, the Battleboard markers. So let's just get into that in a minute. Now, the base set markers. This is everything that you could possibly need for the markers to play this game, except for, of course, the roundels, right? You're still going to need your roundels. But I tell you, though, in the sale bin, all of the roundels are on sale right now. A lot of the battle pieces are on sale. More things that have ever been on sale, like there's 13 pages on there now. Usually there's only 4 pages, and it's units that you don't really need, like American subs from Axis and Allies or something, right? There's actually useful pieces on there right now that you could use. So all of those you're going to need. There's a factory set. Now, Doug and I came up with a factory set a couple of years ago for Global 40, and that was pretty handy, but we didn't have one for this game. So I went through and I made a list of the kind of factories you would need. If, like, say, Germany had a really good game, that's how many they're going to need. If Japan had a really good game, that's how many they're going to need. So you may not need all of them for every game, right? Like UK didn't have a very good game. You're not going to use all of the UK factories, right? But this is just each country, if they all had a really good game, how many they're going to need. And then the technology tiles, you might have had those for version 2. You can either buy them just like a whole set with the new ones, in it, or just buy the new ones if you have the old set, because there's 16 different technologies in this game, whereas there was only 13 before, I believe. So anyway, that's the stuff, and these things are all at a greatly reduced price just in the month of December. And like I said, the sale bin, $1 off for 10 markers. So considering the amount of markers you would need to play this game, like I think, excuse me, if Germany had a really good game, probably 50 markers. And then you're talking about, you know, putting markers on the technology charts and stuff like that. You could get upwards of 60 markers with the Germans alone, and, you know, like that's $6 right there. So if you were to buy them all at once, and you're probably not going to, but if you were, then that's a pretty good sale, you know. But anyway, so let's put the computer aside and let's get into the map here. Let's do the technology markers. Sorry, not the technology markers, the Battleboard markers, because those ones weren't really explained. They just show you what they are, and I'm sure a lot of you who have played the game before can figure it out. But I'm going to show you just how handy these things are. Before I do, let me just say that the last game I played, and all games I've played, really, it's you go ahead and you roll a big battle and everything, and then at the end somebody says, "Oh, geez, there's a river here. I didn't see that," you know. Oh, and then you're trying to figure out, what did you roll in the first round? What did you roll in the second round? Was that a 2 or a 3? It does. Oh, geez. Then you have to end up rolling the whole battle all over again because you did it wrong. And that's easy to do because you see this and it's easy to see everything right now. But Europe can get pretty crowded. China can get pretty crowded. You know, Eastern Russia can get pretty crowded. There's a lot of crowded spaces on the board. You don't necessarily see all the roundels. You don't necessarily see all the terrain features, right? And so you can forget to do things. You can forget to roll for a mountain border, or that the whole thing was in mountains, or whatever. And just a refresher in case you're not sure, or in case you're just new to the game, I just want to show you something here. So you get the roundel in a territory, and this is actually in the example in the new rulebook is Romania. So this is the roundel, and then this here you see is mountains right here. So because the roundel is in the mountains, that means that this is a mountain territory. Even though not all of the territory is mountains, you still consider this a mountain territory. But this one, on the other hand, northern Italy, there's a roundel and there's mountains and everything, but the roundel is not in the mountains. So this would be a mountain border along here. This would be a mountain border up here. But the territory itself is not a mountain territory. So that's how you would decide. And as far as the rivers go, if the river is on a border like this one, like you see a border on both sides of that river, then going both ways across this river is, you would suffer a river penalty when you're rolling the dice. Whereas if you look at here where there's a river on one side of the border but not on the other, right? So if you were attacking this way, then you wouldn't get the river penalty because theoretically you've already crossed the river before you started attacking somebody. But coming across the other way, from roundel to roundel, it's always from roundel to roundel, right? You have to cross a river on the other side of the border. That means that you suffer a river penalty. And if you look at right here, this one down here. So if you were to go from this territory to this territory, there's 2 rivers there. So now what do? Nothing. It's just one river. You don't add up the number of rivers you have to cross. If there's a river, then there's a river. You don't have to suffer double the river penalty, right? But there's lots of other terrain. You know, here's a mountain territory. There's desert territory. This is jungle territory. And we have up there, we have marsh territory up near the top of the border. There's also ice territory. You see it up there. The stripes that go up and down. So that's ice, and that's impassable. So if you looked where I showed you the Battleboard markers, now this is a work in progress. The game's not released yet, and those marker sets aren't released yet. They're just pre-order right now. So that's why I talked to Doug today, is there's a little bit of a change there. We did have some markers for ice, but then I realized as I was starting to do this video that you don't really need them because what ice is impassable. So why would you need those markers, right? And the other thing was that you need target selection markers, which I don't have on me. But they do have them on the site, and they will be included in the set. So they're going to replace the ice markers with target selection markers, and they're yellow. So I'm just going to use these yellow technology markers today for those markers. And also, I don't have any amphibious assault markers, which you see listed in that set. But those markers haven't been designed yet. Doug is still designing them. He's doing a lot of things right now, right? Trying to get the map out and everything. So he hasn't done those yet, but they will be out in time to ship with the game. What I'm going to use today is just naval-based markers. So you could use that or the shipyard marker or whatever. I'm going to use those ones, but there will be an amphibious assault marker when the sets of them come out. Okay. So there's markers for everything. Like you've got jungle markers, and you've got city markers, and river markers, and also there's mountain markers, but there's also mountain border markers, because there's a difference between those, isn't it? A mountain territory, you would suffer that -1 penalty in all rounds of combat, whereas a mountain border, you just have to get through the mountains and then you're not suffering anymore. So just the first round, right? Now, let me show you why these things are going to be so handy. So you look at this here. I've set this up so that the British are going to attack the Japanese in this territory right here. Now, can you see where the roundels are and tracing a path to them? Do you see all the rivers in there? Do you see the mountain borders? Can you tell even if that's a mountain territory? I say no. That's why it's handy if you were to get a set of these markers and do it. Like these guys down here, they're assaulting. They're coming up and they're amphibiously assaulting. These guys are coming down here. These guys are coming in here. These guys are coming in here. These planes are flying over here. So it's just a cluster, you know what, when you look at it like that, right? And it's easier if you just put them on the battle board, but I want to make it even more easier than that. And the designers of the game have come up with these markers, right? A few of us did. Like we all have our own tasks when it comes to developing the game. This is one that I was involved in. So let's just take these guys off. I've already put all these things on over here. Like I've doubled everything up rather than moving all of mine. I tried that already, and I was making a video and it took too long. So I'm redoing it right now. Let's just take the defender off the board though, because so we can see what's going on in here. So these are all the guys that are defending this territory, the Japanese. There we go. Now we can take a look at this territory, right? So if we look closely, this is a mountain territory, but they're going into, from roundel to roundel, there's no mountains in here. So that's not a mountain border. So these guys don't suffer any penalty. Here, these guys have to cross the river because the river is on this side. So these guys have the river penalty. Over here, these guys that are amphibiously assaulting over here, they've got to cross a mountain border. And these guys down here have to cross a mountain border as well. So when you're thinking about putting all of these things on the battle board, right? And these guys down here, that's where it starts to get confusing, right? When you put them all over there, like what went where, right? So let's just look it up here where the attacker is. Here, let me just turn this down a little bit. There we go. Let's look at what I've got here now. Now, these guys down here, okay? I'll show you where these guys all are. So they're amphibiously assaulting across a mountain border. First of all, this blue chip up here, that's I'm showing for amphibious assault. So these guys, because they're crossing a mountain border, normally they'd be at 2. Now they're all at 1 because they're on a mountain border. And so this group of chips here, these group of guys here are all with this chip and with this chip, right? And so rather than giving each and every one of them their own chip, you don't really need to do that, right? So they've all moved down to 1. And with the mountain border, we know that that's only going to last for 1 round. Plus the amphibious assault means it's only going to be for 1 round, right? And then next, you look at these guys down here. So these guys have to cross a river down here. So they're -1. Normally they'd be attacking at 2. Now they're attacking at 1. And there's a river. chip, and then after the first round, then we will be able to adjust these guys up to 2, right? So here, these guys here are not crossing a river. They came from over here. These guys are not crossing a river. So they came over to here and here, this one here. That's a heavy tank, and it does not have to go down one. So it stays in one spot. Plus, that research marker means target because I don't have my target markers, right? So that should say target. So he's got target selection. And these guys up here, they're crossing a river. In version 3, I don't know if you've looked at the rules yet, but there's been some changes, of course. One of the changes is changes to the river penalties. So these guys are going to suffer a river penalty. They're going to go down, and I showed you those guys, right? But these guys, Marines and artillery, do not suffer the river penalty because the artillery, that's going to, you wouldn't shoot the artillery as you're crossing the river. Like you'd shoot it from your own side, wouldn't you? And you'd bombard them that way. So we've got first strike for the artillery because they're going to roll first before everybody, and they haven't moved anywhere. Where's the other one there? The Marine, he's just normal. He doesn't need a chip because he's just attacking. He doesn't have any penalties whatsoever. So he just goes where he goes. Now down here, we're crossing a mountain border, right? So we've got a tank, we've got a mountain infantry, and we've got self-propelled artillery. The self-propelled artillery has to go down one because he's crossing a mountain border. But he's got first strike and he's got the mountain border, right? The tank, he was at 6, he goes down to 5, put a mountain border chip there. And this is the amphibiously assaulting tank that's coming from down here. He's got the mountain border as well, right? And I think that's everybody over there. So then we've got these guys over here. I put these things on here. You don't have to use these. I just put them on to show you, to remind you that fighters and jet fighters, they are air superiority in the first round. I suppose that could be a chip, but I mean, how many chips do you need, right? But these guys here, first strike, of course, that's a tactical bomber. Sorry, I had the camera pointed wrong. And here, I should have a first strike on that, or not first strike. That should be target selection. Dope. So, yellow marker. Yeah, so, I've got the target selection there. Okay, this guy needs a target selection marker because he is a tactical bomber. 1 to 3 target selection, right? And that's about it. So we've got our target selection guys here, and the tactical bomber down here. We've got our first strike. It's the artillery, and we've marked off the air superiority. There's a couple more things here. So these guys here, they were flying in as well. They're coming from 2 spaces away, down here in Hong Kong, and there's an air base there. So I've also put these markers down. This guy gets to go 2 more spaces. This guy gets to go 4 more, and 3 more, and 3 more. So those markers are something that Doug and I came up with a long time ago, and just about everybody in the community has them now. Now, you see how much easier that is. Like everything is marked on the board here. It's mostly the attacker that gets marked because the defender, you know, like I guess if you had first strike, that's one thing, or if you have target selection, like these guys here. But another thing might be mountain infantry if you were defending a mountain border or a mountain territory. These guys don't have a mountain infantry here. So that might be something that you would put a marker down. Other than that, there's not a lot that you would have to put down for the defender. Or city marker if you were defending a city, because the defenders are +1 in a city. Defending infantry, sorry. And then if the city is blockaded and surrounded, then they'd be -1. So you could mark that off on your defenders as well, right? But that's not part of this attack. So I'm going to show you something else. I get a lot of questions. In fact, just the other day, Admiral Seabass, or no, it wasn't Admiral Seabass. It was another YouTuber. I like them both though. Moffat Field, both good guys, both good channels. he was asking me about if I'd come up with a system for hit dice yet. And there just is no way. When you look at this, like you look at these two guys here, they both roll 7s, but one guy is target selection. So if I was to roll the 2 of the same color, how would I know which one was the target selection, right? Like if I get a 2 and an 8, then I'll say, yeah, target selection. Then the defender goes, well, no, the 8 was the target select guy, right? So you can see how the arguments could exist there. However, what I have come up with is just using colors, and you don't have to use the same color every time. If you buy a bunch of different colored dice, like Doug, I bought all these dice at Historical Board Gaming. I think except for I bought some off of Amazon. These dice here I bought at Amazon, I think. But all the other dice at hbg.com. So what I've done is I just at the time, like whatever dice I'm feeling, like I think I'm going to use blue this time for these guys or whatever, right? So what you can do, and what we've done up here before, if you watched a recent game, you might have seen us do this. So I put the yellow dice down beside this guy. I've got one yellow dice over here to roll, right? Then this guy's going to be gray, so I've got 1 dice for him. These guys here are going to be blue, and so I've got 7 dice for those guys, and so on, right? Like it just so on and so forth. One of the things that we haven't put on the battle board is these things down here. Before I forget, let's just move them up. So these guys all move up here. I forgot to put this plane, like this plane is also going in there, and I've put him on the battle board as well. But it's the bombardment. One of the things that's different in version 3 that you're going to find is that the destroyers don't have bombardment anymore. They've been given another ability to pair with planes on maritime air patrol, which used to be combat air patrol. Now it's called maritime air patrol. So they've been given the ability to pair with the planes to hunt subs now. But they've taken away the ability to bombard. So what you'll be bombarding with now is the light cruiser is going to bombard at 1, the battle cruiser at 3, and the battleship at 4. So let's do those first. Let's just get that out of the way. And it doesn't matter what dice you use. Like I don't bother putting all the dice out for that because there's usually not that many ships, right? So let's just do that. So 1 at 1, missed. 1 at 3, missed, and 1 at 4. So they all missed. Okay, now we take a look at this. I've got the dice up here like I showed you on the defender side. These are all the dice on the attacker side. Now let's see what we got here, because you also have to pare it down even more than that, right? Now here, the reason we've got that one ship there, looks like a shipyard there. That's that guy doesn't get to play on the first round, right? So he is attacking, but not right now. So let's move this dice aside, and let's move these dice onto the board or into the thing here. Do we have any more of those ones? Yeah, right here. This guy here doesn't get to go. So this one here, one of them do and one of them don't, because one of them is and also there should be one more. Where is it? Oh no, I've got them both marked there with the same one. Okay, so those guys don't get to roll right now. These two guys here don't get to roll because they're coming off a ship, right? But everybody else does. But so now that we've separated those dice, now we also have to look at first strike. So we got first strike here. So let's just take these out for now. We've got first strike. There's 1, and it's the red dice. And we've got these two here, first strike. Oh, I took the wrong one off there. Hang on a second. Jeez. The tanks were a different color. Yeah, there. Okay, these ones. So this is the tank one right here. So we take one tank one off. Those are for the second round. Okay. So this is what I have for first strike. I've got the red dice and I've got the 2 purple dice here, okay? And then down here, we've got 2 dice on first strike. So these guys all get to go first. We'll just move this over here. So for the attacker, oh, and that's a hit right there. Nope, that's not, because this guy's had moved down to 2. He had to cross a mountain border, see? That's that's why you need to know, right? These guys here, they're at 3 or less, and they missed. So, no hits on first strike. That'll make it easier for us to calculate. Now, all the dice get rolled except for these 2 here. We already know that those ones come out. Not those ones. Those are just marked in the dice. So now what happens is the attacker rolls. Let's get these out of the way now. Now the attacker rolls first. And I'm going to do this in the right order that you're supposed to do it. We've already done the bombardment, and we've done the first strike. So now, this is the attacker roll. So we look at the gray, or no, not the gray one. The purple one here is air superiority, and the blue one, that's air superiority as well. These 2 are air superiority, and they were both hits. So we have to apply both of these hits to aircraft, and there's only 2 aircraft over here. So both of these aircraft are going to go down here. There we go, we'll just put them down there. And then this guy also gets to roll. He is the gray dice down here. Oh, sorry, he's going to be, we'll get that when we roll those guys. So let's look at the hits now. And, oh, we didn't roll them all yet, darn. Let's just roll these guys over here for them. Okay, these are all supposed to be 1s, so there was 1 hit here. Okay, and then here, these are 2s. So there's 1, 2, there's another 2. And then we've already rolled those ones. Okay, so this one is a 5. That's a miss. And we've already calculated that guy. This guy, that's a target selection right there. So now the attacker he got a 1 with, nope, that's not target selection, sorry, it's the yellow one. And the yellow one missed. That's why you had to roll them separately, because that's just a regular hit, not a target selection hit. Okay, so that's just a regular hit. And what else? The heavy tank is at 8. That's a miss. And is that it? Feels like I didn't roll everybody. Oh, I didn't roll these 2. Oh no, I did roll those 2. They were both hits. Okay, that's why. All right, so these are the hits now. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now at this point, like when you play the game, usually just everybody rolls, and then you start losing. But really, if you're doing it right, if you're doing it the way that it says in the directions, and if you're playing somebody for money, you might insist on it. Otherwise, you might not care. But at this point, these guys are supposed to take their casualties, right? And so they take 4 hits. So let's take 4 off of here. You know what? I should have put a marker here for target selection, because that's a tank destroyer. It also has target selection. Where is my target select? There we go. There we go. Target select. So 4 hits. So let's take this one off and put one back on. There we go. So 4 hits off the defender. There. Now these guys all get to roll, and they're going to roll all their dice except for the guys that did first strike, the artillery. So hang on here. So we get to roll all the dice. And we have 1 hit, 2 hits, 3 hits. There's a bit of a debate going on whether or not to make this 1 to 3 target selection or 1 to 2. I think it's 1 to 3 right now, so we're going to call that target selection. And also, it gets to select a vehicle class unit, so that, what's coming off there, right? We'll get to that in a second. So this guy's also target set, but he missed. That's it. That's it for hits. It's just I'm just looking here. Yeah, just 3 hits. So 2 hits the defender picks and 1 hit vehicle class units. So you know these guys are coming off, right? This heavy tank is coming off for the attacker. The defender is definitely going to choose that one with the tank destroyer. That's the beauty of those tank destroyers. Not so good on offense. They only attack at 3, but on defense they got that. They defend at 4. So really a little bit better defense than offense. And then the attacker loses 2, right? So any 2 will do. Let's just take these 2 off here. Okay, so now that we've done the first round, then we go to the second round. So the amphibiously assaulting units there, they've already crossed the border, right? And plus they finished amphibiously assaulting. So so that means that the tank and the motorized infantry get to be part of the attack now. So we'll just take this off. And where did the dice go for this one? I guess, oh, there it is. So the dice comes off for this one as well. And now they move up as well because they're finished with the mountain border. So we can take those mountain border chips off, right? And these guys have crossed the mountain border, so we can take that mountain border chip off and move them forward. These guys have crossed the river now, so we can move them up 1. What else we got there? Mountain border here, so this guy goes up 1. But he's not first strike anymore, so this comes off, and this comes off. And these things come off. And the target selection ones will stay though, right? Because it's target selection in any round. And if we were playing mountain in a mountain, then you know those mountain chips would have stayed on. But because it was just a mountain border, they come off after 1 round. So over here, this comes off now, and these guys are going to come off because they're toast. And what did these guys lose? Oh, we already lost the guys there on the attacker side. So that's how it was done, right? That comes off. All this comes off. Now, I'm not going to keep going because just, you know, so the video doesn't go longer, right? Than it needs to. You only really need to see how that goes. Now, we will throw in the dice for the guy here and the guy here that we didn't get to roll because they were amphibiously assaulting. Oh, you know what I forgot is the casualties. When I took 2 dudes off, that was the 2 dudes that amphibiously assaulted, right? Because you have to take amphibiously assaulting casualties first. So that was 2 dudes. That's a double casualty. I'm also going to take the Marine off as well from the amphibious assault. And so what that means is because I had 2 casualties, these guys don't get off the boat. So this is why these markers are helping me right now, right? Like I wasn't even thinking about that. So this tank goes back onto the ship, and so does the truck, because the amphibiously assaulting units, which you have to lose first in combat, had to come off the board, and that's why those markers help me. Now, if I didn't have those markers, I'm just grabbing a couple guys off and everything, and then we're doing it. And then, you know, like 20 minutes from now, Buddy across the table over there, because he's so sharp, he says, hey, did you remember to lose double casualties on that big attack in Hunan there? And I'm going, what big attack in Hunan? You know what I mean? Like it's just, you know, you can see the value of being able to mark all this stuff out, right? I think it'll help you go faster for one thing. Actually, this, I don't know if it might help you go faster over here, but it'll help you be more accurate, right? So there's another thing that these things are going to be good for, and I'm going to show you that, but I want to set it up first. Now, the beauty of these markers is that you don't have to just use them for the battle board. I mean, just think about it, like how long it takes to take a turn, especially a big turn where you've got like 5 or 10 or 15 different attacks, you know, like the first turn to Germany goes after Russia or vice versa or whatever. Like there's a lot of attacks that happen, and it could be in very crowded space, especially there up, you know, on the Eastern Front there. You know, like it's empty now, but you think of if there was so many different units and markers and everything up there already. You know, like you can't see the the rivers anymore, things like that, right? So wouldn't it be easier if when you were taking, like, the British are going to take a turn here, so they decide, okay, these guys are going to go in here, and I've got a carrier-based aircraft, so they can actually attack that sub. So these guys are going to go in here, and these guys here are going to go into this city here. There's actually a city there now, guys. And these guys here, they're going to go in to attack the Germans over here. So all these guys are going in there. And let me see, these guys are going here, and they're all going, and so I've got all these marked off, and these guys are going after the Japanese over here. Now, while the attacker's doing that, there's, 2 or 3 or 4 people standing around the table doing nothing, right? They're just watching this guy take his turn. Maybe one of the guys is purchasing his units because he's the next up, right? So one of the people could just take the initiative and say, okay, I'll mark this off while you're doing it. And so you look at this one here. This guy's on combat air patrol, so their marker goes in here. Now you look here, these guys have got a destroyer, but these guys don't. That means that this sub here will have first strike. But this sub won't, because these guys have a destroyer. Okay, so there we go. That battle's marked off. And then the guy, he's moving his British guys around over there and everything. So, okay, let me see here. That's a city, so let's grab a city marker there. So that means the infantry class units are going to get +1. And what else do we got there? That's this guy here is first strike. So what were we using? Oh yeah, the red markers. Where's my red first strike markers? There they are. So this is a heavy artillery. He's got first strike, but also this heavy armor's got first strike, and that's also a desert city. So we better put a desert marker on there, because if this guy rolls a 12, then he has to retreat. So that's going into a desert. Now, what else do we got here? Okay, these guys down here, they're attacking into a desert, so that's a jungle marker. Let's get a desert marker here. But they're also having to cross that river there, so we'll throw a river marker in there. These guys are going into mountains, not just mountain border, but that's full mountains there. So let's put a mountain border marker in there. That thing there is first strike, so let's throw this down on that guy there. And like, we could put a mountain marker here, but like, we could just put one in there, because it's not like the battle board where you can't see what's going on. Like, once you've moved all your stuff over here, then you've lost where everything came from. But here you can actually see it. So it's probably just enough to say, okay, we're talking about mountains here. This guy's got first strike. But also this is desert. Look at that. So we better put a desert thing down there, because desert is something different than mountains, right? Like that, these guys might have to retreat here if they roll a 12. So we'll put that down there. I think that's it for that one over there. Okay, so up here, what do we got? This is definitely a mountain territory here. What else? Yeah, I think that's just about it. We just got to worry about the mountain territory, because these guys are coming out of desert, right? So they're not suffering the desert penalty. Now these guys are going into jungle here. So let's get a jungle marker out. And it's important to know, because that means this guy can't blitz through here. You can't go 2-3 spaces through a jungle, or through desert, or really through any type of terrain. You're not going to be able to blitz through it anymore. Nothing can blitz through it anymore. So there's that then. Now another thing I just noticed over here is these guys here opposing fighters. So that's going to be air superiority around there. And everybody else says, hey, don't forget to put something over here, and then there you go. So now when it comes to the attacker now, he can look at this as he's, okay, I think I finished my stuff. Ooh, I didn't see that there was a river there. Maybe I'm not going to go across there. Or maybe I'm going to take, my Marine in here and the other guy over here instead, right? Like, he can take a look at that and see and everything. And then, okay, it's time to start rolling. Well then, okay, remember, it's a jungle border. That means that, let me see, jungles. All vehicle units are -2 attack and defense. If I had a strategic bomber there, or a heavy strategic bomber, that would be less dice, like 2 dice instead of 3 for a strategic bomber, right? Okay, the mountain over here, this guy's going to get +1, we know that. This guy's not. This guy's not going to suffer any penalty. These guys are. They're going to be -1, and we know they're not going to be able to blitz. So you roll that attack, and then you roll this one down here, and you've got all your markers here. You got to remember this guy's first strike, and that's, target selection. That's for every round, right? These ones here, you roll. Once the first strike is over, you take the markers off, and once the first round's over, you take these markers off, right? And the same thing over here. Oh, I put the wrong one here. I put the target selection. That should be first strike over there for that sub, right? He gets first strike, but this sub doesn't get first strike because of the destroyer. If there was a destroyer on both sides, then neither side would get a first strike. So anyway, you can see how well that would work, right? Like if you were the attacker and you had to put all these markers on while you were doing all that stuff, then you're not necessarily saving yourself some time. You are getting some clarity out of it, but you're not necessarily saving yourself some time. But think about it though, even if there's only 2 players playing the game, I'm taking my turn, I'm moving all my British units around, and my friend over there on the other side of the table, he's okay, I'll grab the markers. And he starts marking everything up as I'm doing it. Because, you know, you might have to move this. Oh yeah, there's fortifications there. We didn't notice that. So, you know, we've got the fortification thing in there. You know, or there might be a river in there or something. So he's marking those things up as I'm moving my other stuff around over here or wherever, right? Anyway, so when you're looking at purchasing your version 3, and you're still in December, you might want to think about getting these Battleboard markers. They're going to be tweaked a little bit because the ones on the site, there's no amphibious assault ones yet. They will be made, and the target selection markers are going to be in there, not the ice ones. The ice ones are useless, like I said earlier, because ice is impassable. You can't go into ice. That would be like making a Sahara Desert marker. Nobody's going to be in there anyway, right? So you don't need that marker. It's going to be really, really handy though, whether you're doing it like this or whether you're moving everything over to the Battleboard over here and you're marking all your things up. I mean, you've used these markers before probably, many of you have, and you know how handy they can be. When you're just moving 1 plane or 2 planes a turn, it's one thing, but when you're taking your first turn with all those planes and everything that you got, the first time that you strike somebody, and so you've got 10 or 20 planes, you know, then that's when it starts being tough to remember who came from where and everything. So marking those up is sure helped out. And these things are going to be just like that. You know, it's going to, especially when you move into the Battleboard and you can't remember, did these guys come from here or there? Were they amphibiously assaulting or not? You know, this is going to help. The colored dice, I mean, that's just something you can do if you want. That's what I do. That's something else, you know, like that's not really part of it. And you can buy lots of dice if you want or whatever. I find it works well. You can try that if you'd like. But the markers, though, that's going to be really key. Anyway, that's about all I have for you today. I'm going to be talking to you again soon. Another week left, and there's a draw for the people that have bought games off of Hilltop Pillbox there. Those people are entered automatically into a draw, so I will be giving away a prize. I showed you what that was. And there's also going to be a really nice prize before Christmas. So watch out for that. I'm not sure when I'm going to have it, but when I do, I don't think I'm going to make it last very long. I'd like to mail that stuff before Christmas if I can. Anyway, that's all I got today for the Battleboard markers. So take care, everyone. General Hand Grenade out.